Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Sally Talk. I'm very happy to be back. I took a little bit of a break, and I don't know if you caught my announcement before, but I took a little bit of a break because I realized I really liked doing this, but then I realized I kind of started without knowing what I was doing. So I got some content, which was important for me to be shared on other platforms. And I did things that I thought I needed to do. And so if you want to go back and listen to previous episodes, that would be great. But, and so now I'm just moving forward, and I have a lot. I realized I really love having guests on. So I scheduled a lot of guests. So I have a lot of guests all set up all the way until the end of September. I'm excited. So today I have a returning friend, my returning friend, Liz Barlak. And we will get to her in a second. The reason I asked her back was because she was my most popular podcast episode of really like the third, I think it was the third most popular podcast episode, and then the most popular guest. So I went, well, if I'm going to come back, I'm going to have her back to relaunch it. So before we get to Liz, so I wanted to tell you kind of like my broad idea of is that I would like to, there are a couple themes. There's women empowerment. There's women over 50 reinventing themselves. And all of these things are like interesting for me. I am going to, intermingle different interviews with guests, and I have a guest coming up in September, and talking about grief support, because that's going to be kind of one of my underlying subjects that I really want to keep coming back to and keep visiting, because I think it's really important, and I think there are a lot of people going through a lot of grief and losing loved ones and everything else, and I think it's a constant journey. So I like to revisit that, and I separated out my podcast to episode. I called it season 1 because there wasn't any other way for me to call it that. So I called it season 1. And those are all of my episodes on grief. So if you have someone that you know of who's struggling, or if you yourself listening, struggling with grief, and you want to listen to those and hopefully find them comforting or be able to identify with them, then you can go into that and find them in season 1. I'm excited to announce that I am on Spotify, and I'm also on iTunes, which I found out yesterday. It takes a little while for iTunes to give you the okay. And I was nervous. And so I was excited when I looked in, and then I saw that I'd been accepted. So I'm on iTunes, and you can follow me there. You can follow me on Spotify. We're working on SoundCloud. They take a little longer. And iHeartRadio, I think, too. So anyway, I'm really doing all that, and I'm going to start really researching and learning and listening to other podcasts and everything so that I get better and better at this. So this is still the beginning, and I appreciate everybody being on with me. Now, before I get to my wonderful friend, I want to do my sponsor. So I haven't monetized yet. And so my sponsor is, this wonderful independent consultant with Arbonne called Sally Holiday. So for 39 years, Arbonne International our founder created products because he cared about you. How many products do you use where the company really cares about you, like really cares about you? And our company 39 years ago started our products with no harmful ingredients, wanted to help the animal, be careful with not hurting animals. So we've always been on the PETA list of a cruelty-free company. We don't use any animal byproducts. We don't use any petroleum. We don't use any of those harmful ingredients that are really not good for you on your skin, but good for the companies when they warehouse. And so if you want to find out more about that, I'd be glad to talk to you about it so that you can kind of be the change. We're moving forward. We're going to become a B corporation. We're partnering with TerraCycle. So it's a lot of exciting things coming, and we really are the forefront. And our kind of business allows us to be able to be this forward thinking. So if you want more information about that, my website is sallyholiday.arbonne.com. And you can, I think, contact me through the podcast too. So anyway, thank you, Arbonne International, for being my sponsor. All right. So I want to tell a little story before Liz starts to talk, and I'm going to tell her to unmute her mic because she doesn't, I think her mic is muted. It's right there. It's okay. That's all right. It's all good. Just push it, and then it'll be a constant button. There you go. Is the light on? All right, great. Right. So anyway, so Liz and I have known each other a really, really long time, like 20-some-odd years or something like that. And so I told her that I was going to start off with this story because we're hiking buddies, and so we like to hike. And so we talk a lot. And in the last few months, we've been really good about hiking twice a week. And so it's been good. And she's been very, very patient with me because I'm like plugging along behind her. Oh no, don't even make a face. She's like talking away and I'm like up the hill. So it's not an easy hike. And, but she makes it look really easy. So anyway, she never ever cancels. She's always there on time. She's always there. So one day she couldn't make it. And I didn't look at my phone because I didn't want to be late. So I drove up to the hiking spot and I looked at my phone and I went, oh, she can't be here. And I went, oh, okay. Well, I guess I don't get to have to hike today. That's cool. I go home. And then I went, what? Wait a minute. Why are you not going to hike? Like you have all your stuff. You have all your water. You have everything. Like, why aren't you going to hike? And I literally had this whole conversation in my head. Like, well, because I don't have anybody to hike with. And then it was like, well, I don't even have my headphones, so I can't hike without my headphones. That's not okay. And then I can't, but then what if there's like a bad person and I'm all by myself and it's Burbank? I mean, and then what if there's a rattlesnake and I get bit by a rattlesnake? What if I better make sure I have my keys? What if I lock my keys in the car? And it was the craziest like whole thought process that went in my head, talking myself out of like hiking by myself. So I was very proud of myself. I got out. I did not lock my keys in the car. I was not bitten by a rattlesnake. I wasn't attacked. I didn't fall down a cliff. I hiked. I took a picture, sent it to Liz and said, I did my hike all by myself. So welcome back to the podcast, my good friend, Liz Barlak, and tell me, why is it that we don't want to do, what is that?
I thought that was hysterical because, yay, Liz isn't here. I don't have to. But you're the only one that it affects if you don't. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm not hiking for Liz. I'm hiking for me, too. So why is it so hard to do the thing that we need to do? Like you had the biggest excuse now. You didn't have to go hiking. Wow. It's like you had a free hour given to you. I know.
What is that?
You don't have to do it now because, yay, like you had a day off. No, it's hiking day. I just get to go by myself now. I don't know. We're so hard on ourselves. You know what? When I was on my way over here, walking out to my car, I looked down and there's my shadow. And I thought, ooh, I don't like that. And then I thought, oh my God, I don't even like my shadow. My shadow. My shadow. Like I was being critical of my freaking shadow. There's nothing. You can't make out anything in a shadow. But I was like, oh, look, what's my hair doing? In the shadow. And I thought, oh my God, it's because I'm really tired today. And I know I don't have a filter. So all the I was just, if you don't like your shadow, like, where do you go from there? Like, you don't have a chance. And that's kind of why I'm in the business that I'm in now and why I feel like it's my job to help us all. Why? Maybe because I really need help. I don't like my shadow. Like it's a ugly shadow.
Well, yeah, and to clarify, so Liz is a wonderful photographer, and she makes women look beautiful. So any picture that you see of mine involved with anything is all one that she's taken, and she's wonderful. But it's true. So it's interesting because you're the one who's always like wanting women to go, come on out of your shell. You're beautiful.
I am.
But you have the same. Yeah.
You learn what you need to, or you teach what you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn this, apparently. It's still going on. I haven't learned it yet because my example a half an hour ago, that leave your shadow alone. Be nice to your shadow. It's just doing its job. It's just blocking out the sun in that portion that you were walking. It doesn't mean you any harm. I could go on and on and on because I'm in shock.
If you put your shadow on Twitter, it would get criticized.
I would be the first person to criticize it.
What's with the hair?
What's with the hair? Like, wow, your butt's kind of big in your shadow.
I told you when we were hiking, I told you I followed this rapper guy. I just started, Mike Posner, and he's walking across the country, and he'd gotten like 1,200 miles, I think, like that. And really follow him. He's amazing on Instagram. He's amazing. But he got bit by a baby rattlesnake. And it took him out. And so now he's like recovering, and he's sharing about that. And while he was rapping, and he was talking about his fingernails, like 2 of his fingernails are really long. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, dude, hope you feel better, but man, cut the fingernails. And it was like after. And after a while, people were like, he plays guitar, right? Like,
kind of.
Some people wear their fingernails long to play guitar, but it was funny. So we're hard on ourselves, but we do definitely live in a society that, it isn't like the society, I think, is all unicorns and buttercups, and nobody picks on each other, and we're the only ones who pick on each other. So that's why
we wouldn't notice it if we weren't the first person to pick on ourselves. Maybe it wouldn't be so obvious, or we wouldn't care. What does it really mean to fully embrace ourselves or love ourselves? Or I don't know anybody that really does, but how cool could we be if we did?
Yeah.
If we really got that we're amazing.
I think it's self-aware. We're being like, I think it's a default, I think, of human beings. Mm-hmm. I talk a lot about this.
I don't know. There are people
that you're
out there
critical of yourself.
Yeah. Well,
I know there are people that are much more like on top of it, I think, than others. Yeah.
And they're able to, we were talking about bragging about yourself. They're able to, toot their own horn, and they're able to accept it. And we toot our own horn, and then we're like, oh, sorry. Was that too much? Did I do too much? I probably shouldn't have said it like that. Oh, they're probably going to think I'm all that. That's one of my biggest, scariest things is someone's going to say, who do you think you are?
Right. Exactly. Right? Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I put on Instagram today that actually, who are you not to do the great thing? And that's really the truth. Actually, who are you not to? That's the one I really want to learn. Right.
And you're not stepping in talking about the shadow. You're not stepping in anybody else's light. It's yours.
Right.
That's your spot. Right. It wasn't like you were blocking anybody. It's not like we're keeping my mother, when my mother, my mother's 90, and so she's so funny. She still gets around. She still walks. She has a walker, but she has like a fancy walker now with like little pockets and stuff because she wanted to have fancy, and
that
brakes. Has brakes. It's really awesome.
I would have one with pockets.
She wanted one. She told me, we were out, and she goes, Sally, I need to get a walker like my friends. My friends have this walker, and it's a particular kind of walker. And I'm like,
it goes on.
I'm like, oh my gosh, Barbara, you have walker envy at the.
It never ends
at the assisted living. But anyway, she said she was funny because she's so. Wait, I was going to say something. So I was going to get, she's 90. So she was having a hard time getting around. And I said, why don't you go to the doctor and ask for a handicap placard? She doesn't go a lot of places. Mm. So the handful of times that she goes somewhere when she was still driving, why can't you have a handicap placard? What's that thing? What's it? I don't see why not, because it's hard for her to walk a long distance when she goes to the 99-cent store in Costco. Mm-hmm. So she, no. She goes, Sally, I can't get that because I don't want to take it away from someone more deserving. And I'm like,
wow,
the placard? I said, Mom, they don't sit around at the DMV and go,
we only have so
many.
She
gets one. She doesn't.
We only have so many. And you know what? You just don't qualify because you walk a little bit faster than the next person.
I don't know. I don't know about this one. Isn't that funny?
This is why you're the way you are.
Because exactly. And I that's why I was like, oh, no wonder I think that. And I was like, I thought maybe she was thinking about the actual spot, that she was taking away the spot from somebody more deserving. And no, she thought that she was taking a placard away from somebody.
Sometimes when I go into a women's bathroom and there's a handicap stall, there's nobody in the bathroom, right? And that stall is bigger. Mm-hmm. And I have a little moment where I think, can I use that stall? Is that okay?
There's then I think, wait a second. Episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, there you go. I knew it.
And it was great. It was hilarious.
And I'm confused for a minute, and then I think, well, I shouldn't use that stall. It's like a parking place. You shouldn't use that stall because... So then I go into the other stall, and then one day it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute. I can use that stall. And now we're probably going to get letters. We're probably going to get emails. I'm like outing myself. I use that stall because I think if I'm in there and somebody comes in, they're just going to have to wait. Like everybody else.
Right. Well, that was the episode. The episode was, terrible. Is a handicap stall supposed to just sit there unused?
Yes.
Or is it just accessible?
Exactly.
But you still have to wait for it.
You still have to
wait. You still use it, but then there's one that's accessible.
Sometimes
it's a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Wow, I'm a genius. Me and Curb Your Enthusiasm writers, because I did never see that episode, and I'm tormented for a long time. I should not be in here. I
think you can use it if there's nobody there.
Well, you can now because I do.
Yeah.
Because I think
it's a whole... I think it's just that it's accessible.
Exactly. It's a whole
and then
room.
Then nobody uses it if somebody comes in.
I mean, I'm not going to push somebody out of the way and say, ha, 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 ha.
But it's fun. It is funny though how we do but yet it's funny when there's a famous person... Like famous people that never are ever self-deprecating, then nobody likes them. Right. I was out with some friends and we were all talking about celebrities. And there are celebrities that if they're not self-deprecating, then you kind of think they're full of themselves.
Right.
It's funny.
You got to throw in a little bit of...
But what's the difference between being self-deprecating and then just being vulnerable? You know what I mean? And then just sharing that I have that. You're sharing that I was mad at my shadow, annoyed with my shadow this morning. It's I think there's something that makes us all connects us as humans.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so I think it's good to share the vulnerability.
It's just when it gets in your way of succeeding.
Right.
Or gets in your way of having the life you want.
Right.
Then it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like anything. It's if you, it's feel the fear and do it anyway. Right. It's you have the fear, but don't let it block you.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true.
I'd like to be a little less. I'd like to love my shadow a little bit more. Going forward. And
it's the angle too. You can't it was the angle.
Oh my God.
Come on, the sun. Come on. It's like a bad photograph. A bad photograph that comes in, right? I mean...
It's classic is what it is.
Have you ever swiped on, when you're on Instagram and you swipe and you get the camera and you're looking down into the thing and you're wow, that's a scary... Who is that?
It's well, please don't let me press the button that just took a picture and sent it out to everybody where you're just
I know. Do you think that everybody can see it? It's not live. This isn't live.
Sometimes
People
I'll
can't
be
see
sitting
me
on the toilet, just kind of goofing around, and I'm wait a second.
Do they know I'm here?
Don't do anything. Wait, be very careful. I'm not going live here or something stupid.
Do you respond to stuff when you're when you're on the toilet? You just respond. Do you think people know? That's just do they know that I'm sitting here on the toilet? No, it's funny. It's funny, but it's just like a bad photograph. But what I was going to ask you about pictures too is that I remember reading an article a while ago. I don't remember if we talked about this in the other podcast, but I don't care. The other episode about women who take a lot of pictures of their kids and they don't photograph themselves.
Yes. That kind of hurts my heart.
Yeah.
Because it goes right to the, not me, but surely my kids. And I really get it. You love your kids and you want tons of pictures of them and you want tons of pictures of them around, but they're getting a message. Where's mom? Why isn't mom in the picture? Mom doesn't like herself. Why doesn't mom like herself? Mom keeps saying, I should like myself. Mom keeps saying she loves me. I don't understand. And they're getting the message, even though they don't understand the message.
Yeah, or it's subliminal.
It is. And why can't mom love herself? Because we teach our children how to love themselves, by how we love ourselves.
Right.
And to the degree that the woman can't love herself is the degree that she can't move forward. Ooh, hashtag
right
on that. But to the degree. And so I know I'm going uphill when I talk to women about it, having a portrait of yourself. No, I got to get one with my kids in it. Well, what about you? You're at a stage of life. You still count. You still matter just as much, as you did, as your kids do.
Well, it's funny how many times I've run in my history of working in skincare and everything on how many people will go, oh, I just wash my face with water. But then if a teenage girl wants something, they'll load them up with all sorts of stuff. And we'll even have sales trainings where they'll say, make sure you have something for the kids or explain things for the family, because the woman's not going to might not buy for herself. Right. But she'll buy everything for her family. Right. It's really interesting. I know I was reading too about like the golden rule, love, one another as you love yourself. And it's really interesting because that was the way it was explained. It was like, it's not love. And if you think about it, it's so simple. Love your neighbor as yourself. Yes. But if you love your neighbor more than yourself, that's a problem, right? Yes. So that's codependent, and that's, that's too much and letting yourself go.
Yeah, that relationship doesn't work.
If you love yourself more than your neighbor, then that's more than your neighbor, because that's a problem, because then you're narcissistic, right? Or it's not necessarily love with narcissism, but it's self-absorption, right? So you have to find, it's really interesting, you have to find that balance between love your neighbor as yourself. But you have to love yourself, and you're going to love yourself you're going to love your neighbor as much as you love yourself.
Soon,
really interesting.
Or one day, hopefully one day, you're going to realize that no one's going to do it for you, or no one's going to. They're not. When do you count? In other words, they're not going to say, "Hey, you know what? Sally Holiday counts." They're going to. It just isn't going to happen. It isn't going to be given to you. And you'll realize, hey, wait a minute. I need to say it for me. I need to be the one that does it for me. And I'm struggling for words to say that. You have to do it for you. And then, wow, when you wake up to that realization that you count, you matter.
Right.
Wow.
And you don't matter more than anybody else, but you definitely do not matter less.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're not gonna get in anybody else's way if you do you.
Right.
Right. But it's funny how it's obvious stuff. We hear it all the time. There's a million memes.
Right. Oh, definitely.
I mean, and then how many motivational speakers and all of that stuff. And it's so funny how it's always the same thing. But I guess it's that kind of thing it must be just part of the human. Like I talk a lot about grief, and part of my thing with this podcast is talking about grief. It's a never ending journey. And one thing I was just learning this morning was talking about how it connects people. So now all of a sudden there are all these people, and I thought about that too. Now I'm connected to. There are all these people that have been through the similar, tragedy as me. And now I connect with them on that. And that's actually opened up my world a little bit. So in a way you can look at it like that's kind of an interesting, that's kind of like an interesting thing. But that's the same thing, I think, with, when you're starting to be yourself and be and take charge of yourself. And it's a journey. It's just a journey. And if you share every step of it, then you just get closer to it. Or you don't. Or something happens and it sends you back, but then you just go back again.
But that's still part of the journey too.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm going to take a little sidebar of this whole thing we're talking about, because I also want to throw in the stories we tell ourselves, and how the stories we make up a huge story about why they didn't call us back, or what they thought when we got off the phone about us. And that story is as real and true as anything, and we totally believe it. And then it's all based on how we suck. Right. I think that's incredible that nearly or most everything is just a made up story in our heads. It isn't real. And we do it all the time.
Well, especially when you're entrepreneurial or you're in business for yourself.
Yes.
Because you definitely have. You have to stick your neck out there. We were in networking. We were in the car all day yesterday, by the way, listeners. And so this is why I said to her, I went, show up just before the podcast because I don't want to talk yet. I want to save some for this. But we were at a networking thing. And when you're out with these networking things, it's funny because you'll meet somebody that I'll meet somebody that really impresses me. And I'll go, wow, this woman is amazing. Right. and even have coffee with them. And then all of a sudden I'll start thinking, oh, does she think that I'm not like...
Of course she does. Yeah. Yeah.
She thinks I'm like, I'm not that great. Like, and then it's so weird how you can start going like, I don't think she thinks that I'm as successful as she is. And she's much more successful than me, but I wonder if she's thinking like, and I ask her, I go, would you want to be a guest on my podcast? And I'm thinking, oh, she could even want to be a guest on why would she want to be a guest on my podcast? I don't know. It's so strange how you're that little voice in your brain starts going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
You know, they say that we would be astonished if we found out how much people are really not thinking about us.
Right.
What that whole line is, I can't quote it right now exactly, but it's crazy. I mean, I had a client I was talking to, and we hung up the phone, and I had a big, long narrative that I knew was certain. And I need to change everything because of our conversation, because of what I knew in our maybe 8-second conversation. I had figured it all out. And it was all a complete story. And guess who won in that story? Not me. Right. No, I did not come out ahead in that story of an 8-second conversation. Isn't that crazy?
It is. It is crazy.
It's kind of like, well, if it's true in that direction, then it can also be true in another direction.
Yeah.
So why don't I say, oh my gosh, that client loved me so much.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I could tell in 8 seconds that he's probably talking to like a lot of people about me, right? I mean, we could go on and on and on in that direction. Yeah. Why don't we? Well, because we don't like our shadow.
Right.
It comes back full circle. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's really true. And I think that when young, and that's what, like, one of my favorite lines in old movies is youth is wasted on the wrong people, or young, from It's a Wonderful Life. But it is, it's like, how many times do we say, if I had my old head on my young shoulders? Because I do think that if the sooner a young person can really understand how that works, and that they really are just telling themselves a false narrative, the better. But it's interesting because there are some kids that kind of get it. And I think it's probably their environment and how much they're told and explained. But it can.
There's a girl at my church who's a really good singer, and she's like 20, and I swear she has no fear.
No, that's great.
And I'm just like, how come?
Right.
How come? Can I? And I still deal with it. I still deal with it. I've got anxiety. It dawned on me. I'm like, oh, there's a word for this, Right. Speaking of anxiety, I have my service animal.
Yes, you
on
do.
My lap. I'm too tired because I'm outing myself with my service animal. Okay. Can I just tell you?
Yes.
That this I call her Jackie O.
Jackie O is not alive, just for the
Jackie
listeners.
Jackie O is a stuffed animal. Oh my God. Am I going to regret this?
No. It's fine.
You know what it is that there's a spot that just feels really good on her fur. And when I stroke it, I just feel good. It just takes my mind off of
But that's what that is. I mean, that's what it's for. Yeah.
I'm an old crazy lady now that carries this around. I am. I've never carried it around except for today. It's always in my car. And
no, I think everybody has that. Do you know how many times
after doesn't have a stuffed animal?
No,
I assure you.
That's the way movies are with me. I watch movies over and over again, and people will say to me, they go, "Why do you know that? Oh, you're so amazing that you remember these lines." You don't know how many times I've watched the movie. So I actually got locked out on Stars, I think it was, or something, from watching Sense and Sensibility. I'm Coming Out, where I put it on before I went to bed, especially after John died. That was like one of my things, was that I had to have like a movie running. But I went to go into it and it had a little lock on it. And it was still available, but I wasn't able to watch it because I think I watched it too many times.
Oh my God. It's like me stroking this fur.
It's like all of a sudden
Jackie
if they said, you know what, you can't do that
and all
anymore.
Of a sudden Jackie looked up at me and said, knock it off. you cannot do this anymore. Oh my God.
But I mean, I think everybody has their things. It's like, there was a great line. There was a great line in the movie that says, "You have a freak flag, you just refuse to fly it." Like some people just don't want to admit the fact that they have their what's their thing, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the difference. I think vulnerability is more powerful than beating yourself up, and then finding that. And that was something I didn't know the difference between. Is what is me beating myself up, telling somebody that I'm a bad person because I do that, or what's wrong with me because I do that, or I do this and it makes me feel better, and that's just who I am.
Right.
And there's there's that difference, right?
Right. I've always said I want this to be a year of change for me. I want to be authentic, and so what the hell?
Right,
I will
exactly.
gain people that like me because of Jackie O sitting on my lap. I lose people who go, what the hell? Right. I thought she was so cool. I thought she was that haircut, man, those glasses. I thought she was so cool. And now I'm kind of like stepping away slowly.
No, but the thing is that then that's somebody who's not facing.
They're not my people.
No, and also they're not facing their own freak flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have a freak flag and they refuse to fly it. It's like, what is your freak flag?
Oh my God, I've never heard of that before.
Oh no, it's a great line. It was a great line in it was a movie called The Family Stone, and it was with Sarah Jessica Parker and Dermot Mulroney. I think I said it right, Dermot Mulroney. And every time I think he's in, he's always good in it. Claire Danes. It's Diane Keaton. It's a Christmas movie, and it's a much better Christmas movie than Love Actually. And I'm saying it, and
you're out,
and I'm coming out. I hate Love Actually.
I don't remember it.
Oh, I can't tell you how many friends of mine love Love Actually.
As we're getting into the holidays, it'll be really popular.
People go, oh, I'm like, and I love these people. And if you're listening to this and you know that you love Actually, I love you. I love you. I love you. It's just, I don't get it. It's like a guy, my guy, Alan Rickman, I love him, cheats on his wife. You got this, all these weird stories.
Right.
Naked people. And then I can't watch it with my sons, Do
you remember
it's no
movie?
Fun.
Do you remember Same Time Next Year?
Oh, I love that movie.
I love that movie too, until...
I've seen that movie a bunch of times too.
I have seen it a lot too. And until it was shown to me, or somebody said, they're cheating on their family. They're cheating on their spouse.
Right.
Every single year.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
And we're going, oh, that's so great. And now I wasn't able to... And since that, I went, oh, yeah. I mean, kind of... Not just once, they cheat on their spouses.
Same time next year.
Every year. And I'm not able to watch it now anymore the same way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wait a minute. You're right. They are literally... Now, I don't know what to think about that because I like the movie so much.
Right. No, that's funny because that's one of the movies I've seen a bunch of times too. Ellen Alda.
Me too.
And I know her name.
I do too.
Because I can see her face and she's beautiful. She's wonderful in it. It'll come back. It'll come to us.
Okay.
But I love that. I love that movie, and that's really interesting because as you get older, and especially you're in a nice long marriage, if you all of a sudden found out that every time he went up to Fresno, I would be like, oh my god, yes.
Wait a minute, this is Same Time Next Year. That's such a great movie, but you cheated on me every year for 20 years for a weekend.
Oh, I remember when I was younger, Pretty Woman came out when I was in my early 20s. And I remember 25, I think, 26. I'm trying to remember. But, it was like, oh, yeah, she's a prostitute. Yeah, no problem. No problem. She's a prostitute.
Exactly.
And then you watch it when you're older. And supposedly there was an uptick in runaways and young girls showing up in Hollywood.
Right.
And, the guy crosses the street at the end, he's like, what's your name? What's your dream? Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream? And it's, you got a dream? And it's like, supposedly a lot of girls showed up on the streets and they were prostitutes after Pretty Woman. Now, I'm not trying to be a prude, but I'm just saying it's funny when you get older. Right. I'm starting to get why old people go, well, I mean, that's not very good. She came out, she was a prostitute, and that the friend was a drug user and this and that, and there was a pimp and all this, and you're like, oh my gosh, that, and no handsome white knight. And even though they try to make it out like she rescues him right back, it was like, no, he saves her from being a prostitute. I mean, that's really like what the story is.
Right.
And I think it's funny. It's like when you revisit things and you're like, oh my gosh, I hadn't really thought about that. But it's true. He still is the knight in shining armor and comes and saves her. So it's funny. But it's funny how like those movies. But yeah, you're right. I love that. Have we thought of her name yet? I can't think of her name. It's all good. There are people listening going, I know who it is.
I've got 70s TV stars in my head and I can't think of who it is. Oh my gosh. I'm like Helen Reddy. No, it's not Helen Reddy. When was the last time you saw
Helen Reddy? Nothing.
Marsha Mason. That's another one from The Good
Oh,
Girl.
yeah. That's a great movie.
That was a great movie too. But what's her name? Everybody's just... I can't think of her.
I want to see, there's a new movie, there's a Christmas movie out that I want to get a bunch of people together because I think it looks really good. And I wanted to take the place of Love Actually too. I'm on a mission. But it's called Last Christmas, and it's with the girl that name's going to go from me too. And I know her. She's from Game of Thrones.
Oh.
And she, the Khaleesi. Anyway, and also the guy, I should have never brought this up since I have no names ready for me, but the guy from Crazy Rich Asians. And I saw the clip, and there was a girl on Twitter commented and said, oh my God, this movie looks amazing. If he turns out to be an angel and leaves at the end because he can't be with her, I'm going to hate it. Actually, no, I'm not. It's already from the trailer my favorite movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
Like it's going to be my favorite movie. But it looks great. It looks like a really, really good movie, but it's called Last Christmas. So I'm like looking forward to that. But there hasn't been it's been a while since we really, because most of them I think are a little bit too over the top and I they're not like, that's why I watch older ones. Oh, supposedly Emma Thompson wrote the script for this, and she wrote the script for Sense and Sensibility, and that's one of the reasons why I love it, is because she really took that book and she wrote a great script.
I don't have good history with going to movies and loving them. I mean, it's just kind of me. It's kind of like the live music thing. I don't know. It's kind of in the same family. What's wrong with me? I don't know.
See, that's where you went. Why did you go there? You don't have to go to what's wrong with me.
I
just don't like live music.
I'm a unicorn. Yeah, I don't.
Ever? Or you just don't like to take the risk? Because you might not like it. Are there times that you like it and you're like, oh.
I don't really like it. That probably explains why I didn't go to many concerts when I was in high school. I went to a Harry Chapin concert.
Oh, did you really?
I did. Yeah.
Aww.
I know.
That was probably quiet and nice.
It was. Some guy took me, and I can't remember who it was that took me, but it wasn't a good date. So
Harry Chapin. That's Cats in the Cradle, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like his only hit. But there's so many good ones.
Taxi
Driver.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is a great song. Yeah, no, I exposed all my kids to all of those. It was funny. Every once in a while, there'd be a song, and I'd go, did I ever play this for you guys? And they were like, no. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. Cat Stevens or something like that. And then Luke's like, oh my God, this guy. Yeah, it's great. Well, I think, and a lot of there's a lot of, the 80s are really big. Like a lot of the kids are listening to a lot of the 80s music and like Crowded House and all that stuff. Is funny. But yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're right on the verge of a big shift, I think, in movies, because when movies repeat themselves, and they've done it in Hollywood before, when they start regurgitating like old stories and they don't really come up with anything new, then we're in for there's going to be some sort of big like shift in how things are done.
Do you like all the superhero movies? No.
And I have boys too, but they don't like them either. My boys are very picky. They're very funny. They don't like Harry Potter. It's so strange.
Who?
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and it's like, do you understand, guys? This is like a cultural literacy thing. Yeah. And then one son met a girl that had read all the books, and it was like a thing of hers. So I'm not going to out who it was. He sped read them and sped read. So he's the only one in the family that's read them all. I think there's like a couple they've read here and there, but they can't do Harry Potter. Like, people will rattle off something, a Harry Potter thing, and our family has no idea what they're talking about. Now, Star Wars, whole different story. Lord of the Rings, whole different story. We know everything. But in Harry Potter, it's so weird. And it's just a thing that my kids just didn't follow.
We had to force my son. I think that was the series where my husband forced my son to sit down, and Bill started reading to him. Like, you're going to like this. I know you, and this is your thing. And I think he did.
Yeah.
And
no, it's great. I have no thing, but my kids are just funny that way. They're just funny. And I'll go, really, guys? Really? But I read the first one. But yeah, it's just funny. Anyway, all right. Well, so I think one of the things that I love about what you do, because I feel like that was why it falls into some of the, what I'd like to do with this show, is just kind of, because I think it's a journey and we have to keep reminding ourselves,
Yes.
And I think that's why it's fun when you post things of you've had a session with someone or whatever. And sometimes it's somebody that I know, which I think is kind of cool. And then I'll see what you do to them, and then how they're so surprised that they look good. How they look. Yeah, and what's funny is that I think we all look at pictures and we know the celebrity or whatever has been we know they've had a makeup artist. We know they've had their hair done. We know all that, Right. We've all seen Pretty Woman. We all know how that all gets you wear the right clothes and all that. But it's funny how when you do it, you're unique because no person looks like you all, with the makeup and with the clothes and the hair. That's you though.
Right.
So it's different. Right. It's a different person.
Almost everyone says, "Is that me?"
Yeah.
And that's a good moment.
Yeah.
I love those moments. Yeah, that's you. That's exactly right. That's you. In that moment, in that time, I turned your head just that way and wanted you to look at me just that way. That's what makes a photographer unique. Another photographer will take your picture, and will they get that out of you at that moment? I don't know. I doubt it, because we have energy between us, and something's happening between us, and I want to get something out of you that you've never seen before, but it is you.
Right.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I want you to hold on to that and capture it and celebrate it. And I'm not expecting you to throw a party and fireworks, but having it printed and put somewhere is an acknowledgement of you. That you counted, you mattered, and someone, when you're gone, someone will love that picture. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I think the when they. Yeah, because back in the day, like, you go to the Huntington and you walk around and see all those portraits.
Right.
Oh, those portraits were done to capture that person.
Right.
Looking like that. Right. Looking, because that's the way they looked.
Right.
It's because nobody else looks like that person. Supposedly, after Thomas Jefferson's wife died, he destroyed all pictures of her. So nobody knows what she really knows what she looked like. They have old one or two, but they really don't have, because he was so devastated that she died. It was just too painful. Wow. And so it's interesting, because then you'd have no idea. I've always thought that'd be a cool script if you did that, to have this, have somebody, because then nobody knows what she looked like. Only he would know. Wow. Or the child, right? But yeah, they had all those portraits. But then it's funny, because then we have women who won't take a picture with their kids.
Right. And so imagine if you're walking through the museum and you look at that portrait and you say, who does she think she is? Right? Apply today's standards to those. That doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, and they would dress them up in, sometimes in clothing that wasn't
full of herself.
Wasn't from that time period. It could be like the Blue Boy. He's wearing a costume from like 100 years before or something like that. If you read about it, he's not wearing like what he'd wear to school. Right. Like we have all these like back to school pictures, right?
Right.
Imagine wearing like a back to school picture, have it of your kid, but do it from like 1950, And so they're not even, because they got all dressed up for the portrait.
Right.
And so what's wrong with getting all dressed up for a
Those
photograph?
People, man, they were pretty egocentric.
Yeah.
Wow. who do they think they are?
Well, and they were,
crazy.
and probably it was mostly wealthy people or prominent people that had those portraits taken, but still, but nobody, you can't say that every single portrait, everybody's gorgeous.
No.
I mean, from like a standard of like, classical beauty or whatever, you look at somebody and go, that was so-and-so's wife, that was so-and-so's mother, that was so-and-so, and they did it. Right. So yeah, it's really funny how if you had a big picture of yourself on the wall, and that's like, oh, that's me. Now it is kind of like a thing where people are like, oh, I put a picture of myself up on the wall.
Why?
And it's like, because, And I think when you were saying that about how you capture, I think that's the other thing. We don't have any idea when we're talking and hanging out with people. We have no idea what our facial expressions are. Maybe people now more so because they videotape and we social media it. But you really don't know what you look like. And that's what people love about you. It's that.
Right.
So you need somebody who's able to capture those looks.
Yep.
That's instead of your stock, we're at a restaurant, pose for Instagram picture.
Right.
So how do you know, like with somebody that you know, then you know what you're looking for. But when you meet somebody that you don't, like you've had people reach out to you off of like Instagram, say, hey, I want you to do that.
I don't know how I know. I don't know.
So you just talk to them and you start seeing it?
I have gotten to the point where I'm going to trust. I trust something within me that knows that I'll get it. Knows that I'll get you somehow to relax or something. If I sat and thought about, oh, don't forget, you've got to do the thing to get the person to relax, I'd lose my mind.
Right, exactly.
So I let it go. Because I just kind of go, you know what? I've got this gift and I'll be damned if I know how I do it sometimes.
Right.
And that has to be okay with me.
Yeah.
Isn't that growth?
Yeah, that is. That's really great.
Really cool. Yeah. I do believe that. I go, I can't figure it out why. I don't know. Thank you. Thank you, God, that you gave me.
No, because you do. Because it is. And when you see the pictures, even they're people that I don't even know who they are and I didn't even know. I'll see your videos and see the before and after. But still, I mean, it's like, but still, everybody always looks so great. And they always look very like, it doesn't look staged.
Right.
You know? Right. And I know even when you've taken my picture, I don't feel staged at all. Right. You know? Right. I always feel like it's fun. Yeah, it is. It's fun.
Yeah.
And it feels like it doesn't feel like work at all.
It's nervous in the beginning. I get it. I tell people to bring 4 to 5 different outfits or looks, tops, dresses, or whatever. And I will ask them, what's your least favorite of these? Oh, I don't know. I really like that. Oh, I love that one. I love that. I try and gauge which one is the least favorite because I want to do that one first. Because
interesting.
The first one is a little harder. You're nervous and you're a little stiff, and So I don't want you to be nervous in your favorite outfit because we end up usually getting the photos of the last 3 outfits or so. That's the one you just got to have. Oh, I got to have that one. I got to have that one. And then you think, well, what happened to the one with my favorite outfit? Oh, that's when I was really nervous and stiff. And
oh, wow.
So, it doesn't always work that way, but it's something I think about in the beginning. Because I can tell how nervous they are.
Yeah.
And I just feel for them. It's like, oh, don't be nervous. It's just us.
Right. Well, you got that worried you're going to do something wrong. Worried you're not going to smile right.
Yeah, don't be nervous. It's okay.
Worried you're going to... I'm going to blow it.
Everyone's got flaws. Everyone doesn't... I had a lady the other day that I was photographing, and I had to finally say, I need you to look right here in my lens. And she didn't know to look in the lens. And she thought she was supposed to look over my head over to the left. And as I was shooting her, I kept going, no, come back here, come back. And I finally had to say, I need you to look right here. Oh, she was shocked. And I was shocked she was shocked.
Right.
I was like, where do you think? Oh my God. I was like, oh no, it's okay. You just didn't know.
That's like, it's like maybe something to...
Something she just thought it was somebody told her once a long time. I don't know. But, it all comes out and it's okay. Yeah. It's all good.
No, it's just like anything. It's like a learning process. Yeah. All right. Well, we are done. Kind of in a way. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, well, thank you so much. Well, first of all, and also too, just a little throw out, Liz has been super supportive of me doing this podcast. And so anytime that I'd wake up in the morning and go, who the hell wants to hear what I have to say? Liz is the one that goes, no, I want you to. No, you should do it. You should do it.
I love
no, that was great.
I love that you have the motor, the drive, the want to do it, and just, you know what? I'm going to figure it out as I go. I want to do this. Why not?
Right.
You know?
Well, that's the
And you
thing.
just
And
do it.
I feel like people, when I talk to people and ask them to be guests and stuff, I'd say there's something I think that we are isolating ourselves too much. And it's easy to isolate now because we have everything at our fingertips. We can watch a movie at home. We can do everything from home. And I really think we need to get out more and get around each other. And if you can't do that, I think people like listening to people have a conversation. And I love the conversations. When I was doing the other episodes, if I do it by myself, I'm fine and it's okay. But the truth is that it's the interaction. And like you say, you know how to get somebody to look a certain way. I feel like I can handle a conversation and have an interesting conversation between two people. And I think people might find that's interesting to learn something today as they go to work. It's nothing bigger than that, you know?
I listen to podcasts where the hosts just talk back and forth to each other. Like, what's new? What did you do last week?
Yeah.
How are the kids? I love those.
Yeah. Well, and that was what was funny was it was like having my friend on. And I'm thinking, my friend on. And as I've been nosing around and listening to a lot of podcasts, there are a lot of podcasts with people who have their friend on and people like it. And I went, well, I'm going to go with the demographics because she was my favorite and she was my most popular guest. I have other guests. I think Stacey Jamalski is going to come back. And then also I have new guests. And I've been going around really trying to find some interesting, women that I find interesting. I love what they're doing. I love what they're trying, really getting out there, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And that being said, Elena Bernaldi is going to be next week. And she's somebody I found on Instagram. And I found her because I was following Stacey Jamalski for the Hollywood Fringe in Los Angeles. And she had her own show and it was called Swiped the Musical. And I was like, what is this? And she wrote it all herself. And she wrote the music herself. And she had her sing. She was singing a couple times, and so I messaged her. She messaged me. I forget how it all started. And the next thing you know, she said, "Come see my show." We went. We saw it. We loved it. It was great. So I booked her because I just thought I think she's just really interesting. But she's young, and she's just out there, man. She did this musical thing, and she's out there. She has a beautiful singing voice. She plays a couple instruments. I mean, it was great,
Wow.
So I just think she'll be really entertaining. So that is next week. And I have other people lined up, so I hope you stay tuned. You can, like I said, you can follow me on Spotify and iTunes, and you can follow me there. So don't feel like if you have to sign up for Spreaker, you'll sign up for Spreaker, and then it'll take all of your savings out of your 401k. It doesn't work that way. It's a simple thing. But now I'm on Spotify and iTunes, and you can do that. So I wanted to promote other podcasts because...
Can I interrupt real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And just, you know what? Speaking about growth, you can find me at Liz Barlak.
Oh, yes.
Photography.
I was going to get back
That's
to
okay.
that, but
That's
you can
all
do
right.
it
I just
now.
jumped in.
It's all fine.
It's growth.
Right.
Sure. If I don't do it, who's going to do it for me?
Right.
LizBarlakPhotography.com. That's all.
Yes, and I have on my announcements and stuff, and then I'll announce it and put it on and hashtag. But yes, please. And I was going to say goodbye to you. I was just doing this, and then I'll go bye to you. But it's all good. Yeah. So I wanted to promote, because Liz actually turned me on to a podcast that I think is great, is Confronting OJ. And it is an amazing, and if anybody's our age who went through the OJ trial, it is really an amazing podcast. And she doesn't have that many episodes, so you can catch up.
Yeah,
It's Kim Goldman. And it's really powerful. And she has a lot of really interesting people on, and also dealing with the grief of losing her brother. And so it's a really powerful podcast. So I'm giving a shout out to Confronting OJ. So yes, so that's it. So yes, thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you,
and
Sally.
I hope you come back.
I'll come back.
You come back.
I'll come
and
back.
I want everybody to give feedback and stuff like that. But yeah, Liz is an amazing photographer, and everybody who gets their portrait done and their photograph done is always very, very happy. And she has a lot of stuff on her website and on her Instagram. You can see a lot of her work, and it's pretty amazing. So I think I'm done. So I can put the music back on, and I can thank everybody for tuning in. And like I said, we'll be back. It's Fridays at 10, but then of course you can always listen to our recordings. Download the episodes if you could, because that looks good for me.
Helps.
It helps a lot, and it helps with the the schematics and the demographics and all that other stuff as I'm learning about it. So thanks so much. Make it a great week, and we will talk again soon.